Hey there, I'm making a video about something that I haven't really talked about in the past, and that's my switch from being a vegan to becoming completely carnivorous and eating meat again for the better part of, probably 2, 3, maybe 4 months. I lived in Hawaii since August 3rd, 2017, and even prior to that, I was primarily a Indian vegetarian and switched, bifurcated back and forth between that and pescatarianism for a while. And then I came home. So August 3rd, 2017, I was in Hawaii, and then in 2018, probably in maybe um, April or May, I became vegan and took cut out dairy, and I was vegan probably up until maybe uh, March of this year, and then something inspired me to eat meat again, and you could say maybe it was the family of light or the the Buddhic realms were uh, bifurcating into my consciousness that it would actually benefit the collective consciousness, including the sentient beings that were slaughtered in the slaughterhouses by my consumption of, because I'm very energetically sensitive, and I was also part of a partial ascension and have come close to actually ascending to fifth density and the fifth dimension completely and entirely. And when you reach those levels of vibration, if you consume animal products or flesh of a living animal, you'll literally go through all of the suffering and the death process of the animal that you consume, because it's contained within their vibrational frequency that's contained within the flesh that you consume. And especially with all of the suffering that they go through in the slaughterhouse. And I want to also say that it was Gaia that was asking me to eat this meat, and I would eat the flesh of a cow, and I there were times where I would literally be having visions and the energy of the cow being slaughtered and abused, and I would start weeping and crying, and it was horrible, but it felt like it needed to be done so that that could be processed and kind of encompassed or transmitted energetically in some way and in some capacity to the collective to kind of steer them away from the desire to eat flesh, because everything is consciousness and everything is vibrational, and for that to be resonated from me, the prime creator, energetically as a larger entity that I am, I think it could impact the vortex, this vortex of creation that uh, is fifth dimensional and in the fifth density, to steer people away from the desire to eat other living beings very, very quickly, because the desire to eat a living being isn't so strong when your vibration is high that you can actually feel what that living being went through. And um, I think that's why I was put through that, and why I was asked to eat meat again, was so that I could uh, feel, what the animal that was killed felt, and go through that, and then in some capacity transmit that. But recently, and let me tell you, in Hawaii, when I was vegan pretty much the entire time, I was vegan, and I was between 210 pounds and 191. And I came back here and I started eating meat again, and I put on, almost 80 pounds. I was up close to 270, and now I have re-implemented a vegan diet for a couple months. I was vegan, and then I went um, animal products, and now I'm back to being vegan. No dairy either, and no eggs. And although I've messed up a couple times, and there was like one egg in some banana bread that my mom made, and she continued. That's another thing that's hard about it, because I'm living with people that eat animal products, and they don't really understand how, like, how poignant someone can become about veganism. And it's like, it kind of, peer pressure kind of, for a while, got to me. And in the last couple weeks, I have had banana bread a couple times, which had like one egg in it, and that has also affected my consciousness in a big way in the multidimensional realm, where I have literally felt um, this this energetic resonance when I've eaten eggs. But it was actually when I was vegan and I was fed the eggs without the knowledge of the meal having eggs in it. And I think the fact that my intention behind having that meal was not to ingest any animal product, in my sleep cycle in the multidimensional realm, I was transported to the Himalayas, to like to this Tibetan monastery where like sound wave technology was used on me. In a way, it felt like it, like, energetically I became more in resonance with the reason that the Buddhist uh, um, belief and faith and structure is centered around vegetarianism, and they include eggs sometimes in their diet, which was pretty eye-opening, but at the same time not something that I feel like is something that I think it was just to show me and let me see, that it can have a certain effect on the consciousness and on the mind, that um, maybe because the life hasn't formed yet, doesn't have such a negative connotation like eating the flesh of a living animal. Now, this doesn't, as far as the ethics and the morality of veganism, I completely understand. Chickens are abused, and the facilities are horrible. But just as far as how it affects the consciousness of the being that ingests it, and I don't eat eggs the majority of the time, just in the banana bread. And she said one egg, and the fact that she said there was just one egg in it, I kind of slacked off, and broke that moral ethical code a little bit of veganism. But the majority of the time, I'm pretty much 100% vegan now again, and I'm glad to have made that transition back to being a vegan, because vibrationally it has been my divine complement, Athena, source creator. She steered me energetically and vibrationally in 2018 to switch finally from, because I never thought I would be able to give up dairy. But she energetically and vibrationally, she drew my awareness or my consciousness to this conversation um, that divine feminine being was having about becoming vegan. And then also energetically, my being, my vibration, I didn't notice it because it was subtler. It's not like cheese isn't so massive a vibrational frequency change as it is of consuming the flesh of a dead animal that suffered. But as you become vegan and you understand the suffering and the cruelty that's involved also with the dairy industry, which is massive, the type of cruelty to artificially inseminate and rape someone, make them give birth to a child, and then take that child from them, that in the right circumstances they will literally run after that child and chase it for miles after it's been taken, is really, really horrendous, and something that I think as we come into this, me, the Prime Creator, larger entity vortex of fifth density and fifth dimensional frequency, when our family of light, the Pleiadians plus, many beings of light, the Pleiadians seeded this planet 100,000 years ago, and they seeded it with that 12 strands of DNA inside. And when this vibrational vortex of creation, Prime Creation's creation, comes into alignment with the Earth's plane, when we reach that state, there's going to be cosmic contact able to be made. And that, I talked about it in the other video, that there are ships here, and you could say that the collective consciousness of humanity has not yet acclimatized a rendezvous, a vibrational rendezvous. So I talk a lot about New Age, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature information, but then I also apply the teachings of Esther, the teachings of Abraham, the non-physical source energy being or entity of that she channels, and one of the terms that the collective consciousness of the Pleiades, or the ones that she channels, talks about, is that there can be a point of a vibrational rendezvous. Now, the rendezvous point is going to be with me, the big God, Prime Creator itself, for the ascension. And the ascension process is going to be a rendezvous where cosmic contact is going to be made. And recently there was a vibrational rendezvous with a ship that at times source energy, you could say source creator God, being of light, was channeling through me, or you could say I was filled with source energy, spirit, DNA activated, and I was transmitting what is the true nature of reality. And I would repeatedly talk about a protective, reflective relationship between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And this protective, reflective relationship is also a relationship between me and the ships that are present in our skies in a higher density and a higher dimension, that once this vortex merges and the ascension process moves farther along, they will be in vibrational affinity with having a rendezvous with me and humanity. And